Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. That's Lock It Down Sports. I'm Locke Hoover. You can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. You can also follow us and find us at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports as well. And today on the show is a running back type trend creeping into Major League Baseball. The phrase, "it just means more," still reigns true. And gold gets you paid. I'll explain all that a little bit later in the show. But first, this is not a topic I wanted to talk about at all. And it hurts my soul deep down. And that's Spencer Strider. Probably done for the season with the UCL. And first and foremost, terrible injury for him. Blew out his UCL. This would be his second Tommy John surgery. And it's just a bad thing, which we'll get into a little bit later as well. But to me, this still is not panic mode for the Braves when it comes to starting pitching. They have depth. It's there, as you've got Bryce Elder, Darius Vines, AJ Smith, Solvit, Alan Wines, and Dylan Dodd all making starts. And you've got Huascar Noah working his way back from Tommy John, currently throwing. So I wouldn't expect Huascar anytime soon to be called up as he's working his way through it. Now, Alan Wines was called up when Strider first went on the injured list. And that surprised me a little bit over someone like Bryce Elder or Darius Vines. Darius Vines throwing great in AAA. Bryce Elder throwing pretty good. Braves know what Bryce Elder is and what to expect. Interesting enough, too, Elder could have been called up if he didn't make his start in AAA the night after Strider got hurt. But he did anyway. So it's a question of, that's interesting. Why hold back Alan Wines and bring him up? It was my first thought was, okay, the Braves need help from the bullpen, gives them an extra arm, some long relief, basically had why you shouldn't panic. And Wines ended up making the start in the series against the Mets anyway. But it was like that first initial, all right. But when it comes to not panicking or worrying, just remember last year, the Braves basically only had 3 starters in Elder, Strider, and Charlie Morton, and they won 114 games. 104 games. 104 games. And yes, they got Max Fried for some of the starts, but not the full 32 starts that you normally get from him. And I know at this point, the regular season and the division is almost a foregone conclusion. Even with Spencer Strider out, to me, the Braves are by far the best team in the division. Playoff talk is what it's all about, and I get it. I do. It's frustrating losing to the Phillies the last 2 years after kicking their butt in the division race. I still think the pitching can be fine. I mean, in those last 2 postseasons, pitching as a whole was fine. It was the offense that didn't show up. And that's where it gets the Elder. People want to bash Bryce Elder. But if he's your 4th starter, he's a Bryce 4th, 5th starter, he typically wouldn't have even made a start. It was, yes, Elder didn't have a good game, but the deciding game. But look at the rest of the postseason. Offense didn't show up, and everybody knows that. Yes, this will put more pressure on Morton, Freed, and Sale to stay healthy and be ready for the postseason. But really, when it comes to the postseason, you need three good starters. Three good starters. Maybe Bryce Elder is ultimately the guy that replaces Spencer Strider in the rotation. If he is, maybe how the Braves are using him, he'll be fresher down the stretch. And also with that, the Braves bullpen is a lot better this year when it comes to the overall staff that can maybe absorb some of the innings. I mean, you feel great with everybody out there in that bullpen, and you're only a little bit nervous about Jesse Chavez, high leverage situations, and he's thrown great. And I guess the only nervousness is he doesn't throw 97. He throws 89 and hits his spots. And Jesse knows his role. He understands what his role is on this ball club, but he's pitched some big innings and some important innings, and they're going to need him. Absolutely. They're going to need Chavez and the rest of the bullpen to be ready to go. So, like I said, it's tough. And you're seeing it more and more with these pitchers, which we'll get into a little bit later on in the show. And it's just a tough break for Spencer Strider. Now, I saw this and I was like, well, yeah, that makes sense completely. So there's a breakdown of the 2022 football revenue breakdown based on total tickets, programs, concessions, parking, novelty, and then it's plus the novelty sale revenue per attendee. And the answer is yes. To the question of who led all the conferences? Well, I think you know where I'm going with this. The SEC led all conferences, followed by the Big Ten, and then in third and fourth were the ACC and the Big 12. Kind of hard to tell who ultimately came in third and who came in fourth, as only 9 ACC schools reported their earnings and their revenue. So it's, that's the assumption and how the information was presented. I feel like it was the ACC, then the Big 12, but I'm not sitting here banking on it. It was the ACC or the Big 12. So just to show you some of the differences and like the difference in the schools. So I'm going to take the SEC. So the 9th ranked SEC school and revenue breakdown would have been 7th in the Big Ten in rankings. That school that finished 9th was Florida, generated $53.14 million, and Iowa generated $53.02 million. Florida would have been second in the ACC, just behind North Carolina at 40 million. Florida would have been second in the Big 12, as Colorado had 56.51 million. So SEC fans support and revenue that they were to generate each school, all the money that these fans were going to games, buying programs and prices and parking and all that revenue these schools are generating in the SEC, we're going to now return that money, pump it back into the athletic budget, and whether it goes to surplus funds or wherever that money is distributed, heck, it might go to NIL, and it could, with them mentioning that now potentially schools are going to get to start paying NIL players instead of NIL collectives of these schools. Yeah, that money then can go to coaching and coaching staffs, and a trickle down effect. So the top programs in each conference, it was Ohio State, Oklahoma, North Carolina, Colorado, and Washington State are all the top programs for each conference. And obviously, revenue is going to go up all across the board. But I think for all conference, but I think even more for the SEC and the Big Ten. Why? Because fans, with conferences expanding and adding new teams, fans want to go see Texas and Oklahoma and Southern Cal and UCLA and Oregon and Washington all in their conference games. Higher ticket prices. Those tickets will be higher because X team hasn't played at the University of Georgia ever, or the first time since 1930, or whatever, something extreme along those lines. So that's why I think those two conferences are going to continue to expand on that. Now, for other schools, other big time programs, say a Florida State, say Clemson, I mean, I think the only way to continue to try to reach that next level there would be to raise ticket prices. And of course, you're going to get some pushback on that. You're going to get some unhappy fans. Understandable. I mean, how else will the ACC or the Big 12 catch up on that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't. Based on this report, alcohol sales at stadiums weren't reported. So maybe some of those conferences, the ACC and the Big 12, they drink more. Those fans drink more than the SEC and the Big 10. Find that hard to believe. But anything's possible, right? So that wasn't calculated in the concessions along that line with the alcohol sales and all that. So another wait and see, but I think it's going to continue to be this way throughout. Now, something I mentioned a little bit earlier, Spencer Strider, and the recent arm injuries in Major League Baseball. It's terrible. I mean, like I said, Spencer Strider, Shane Bieber, Josiah Gray, Yuri Perez. The list goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. MLB Player Association says the pitch clock is to blame for these injuries. I think I had to read that about 3 or 4 times, trying to understand where they're coming from, and they're just trying to press blame somewhere. It's not their fault. It's not the organization's fault. It's the association's fault. The rule changes. I don't think it has anything to do with the rule change. It has everything to do with the increased velocity and the increased spin rate that these pitchers are producing. So, let's go back to 2012. The average velocity on the fastball was 92. In 2023, it's now 94. And interesting enough, with all those numbers, between the years 2019 and 2023, 18 of the 21 starting pitchers who threw a 96.5 miles per hour or harder have had Tommy John, UCL, or have shoulder issues and surgeries. That's that's telling right there. It's all about speed. It's all about velocity. And even, you see this all over. So back in just 2014, I had a friend who was a baseball manager at a small Division I school. It's a good baseball program, but it wasn't a major conference program. He said their coaching staff would not even look at kids if they didn't throw 90 miles an hour or touch 90 miles an hour, consistently chasing that velocity, or they top out at 90. Okay, now I'm going to get some looks at a D1 college. You didn't throw 90? Tough sled. Now, I feel like this is a pretty credible source as well. Someone named Dr. James Andrews. He's been tracking, obviously doing Tommy John surgeries as well, of course. Sadly, this is the thing. He said youth surgeries have started to surpass Major League Baseball injuries. He's also said this. So the Tommy John ligament does not mature until the age of 26 years old. 26. And you've got all these guys in the big leagues, 21, 22, 23, 24-year-olds, all in the big leagues throwing 95, 96 plus. And how long have they been doing that with a ligament's not even matured from 96 to 26? Interesting enough, too, he said the red line for a high school ligament at their age is 80 miles an hour. That's max. It should be able to generate and be okay 80 miles an hour. And of course, we're seeing kids throw a lot harder than that. And then back in not too far, the olden days of pitching, which is not that far back, I'm just going to use an example of Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. You know what they would always do? I know what Leo Mazzoni told them when it came to take care of their arms. Throw more. Throw more. Throw bullpens. They would throw full bullpens in between starts. On that third day, they're out there in the bullpen throwing. Actually throwing. No, Maddox and Glavine didn't throw 95. But know what? They were still healthy. They're never on the DL. Glav, his last year in the big leagues, or second to last year in the big leagues, first time he's ever touched the DL for an arm injury. Smoltzy. John Smoltz. Yeah, he had Tommy John. But he's through 95, 96, 97. But he only had one Tommy John. You have guys having two Tommy Johns now, way younger than John Smoltz. And a lot of it, too, is it's these high school kids, these college kids, and even you're seeing guys in the big leagues going to these throwing academies, pitching academies. Drivelines, a main big one now. They're looking to increase velocity. That's all they talk about. It's all you hear about: velocity and spin rate. How do I increase the RPMs? How do I increase from 92 to 94, 95? It's all I hear them talk about. Increase the arm strength. But what I never hear them talking about is shoulder strength and exercises for the arm and shoulder maintenance. Why has that not been figured out? They figured out, okay, here's how you can throw 97 miles an hour. Here's how you can also maintain your ligaments, your shoulder, your UCL, the maintenance of being able to throw 97. That should go hand in hand, right? I would think so. I don't have the answer, but there's there's doctors, there's trainers, there's smart people out there that should be able to figure this out. Why hasn't it happened yet? I don't know. It pitchers breaking down is going to keep happening, and I hope this doesn't turn into how the NFL views running backs. You use it for 4 to 6 years. You use that 4-year contract. Maybe you franchise tag them that 5th year. You extend that 5th-year option. Then you go draft another running back. You run him down until he wears out. You get another one. So it's very. I hope this doesn't become a trend of what teams are doing. Well, I've got my 6 years of arbitration, and I don't resign them because I've got a young 22, 23-year-old that we're going to use for 5 to 7 years, 6 years. Hopefully his arm doesn't snap. If it does, it's a minor surgery, not a UCL or whatever. I hope organizations don't go this way. And it's like, to me, it's a big problem with where baseball is right now. RPMs, spin rate, velocity. No maintenance on the arm. And it's getting bad, and there needs to be some way that has to be fixed. Now, I really do like what the Olympics has done with the track and field department, as if you win a gold medal in track and field, you get $50,000. Each athlete will receive that money that wins a gold. If you're a relay team, you split that money between all the relay people on the team. So payments for silver and bronze medals will start in 2028. And so that's, I mean, to me, that's a nice incentive. I mean, you want to win a gold medal regardless. And it's a nice incentive, a nice pat on the back of, oh yeah, here's 50 grand as well. Now, some countries do pay their athletes, which I think is a very good thing. Countries pay their athletes for winning gold, silver, and bronze. So each gold you win, each silver you win, each bronze you win, or in the United States anyway, you get a certain amount. So for winning a gold, you get $37,500 for gold. For silver, $22,500, and for bronze, $15,000. And then, of course, there's other ways to make money as well. Some are pro athletes, your track, your sponsorships, your swimming, your sponsorships, your endorsements, all that. But they also get American athletes. They get health insurance, which is great, and they get college tuition. So that's nice too. If you got people that are still in college with tuition, it's a nice little thing. And you say tuition's kind of crazy. It's like they're a scholarship athlete, but that doesn't mean that they have a full ride. There's a lot of programs. I mean, and this is D1 where they have to break up scholarships. So if you're a baseball player, you might get 1/8. Or swimming, you might get 1/3 of a scholarship. They've got so many scholarships, they have to cut up and slice up. It's not like football you get, or basketball, hey, here's your full-fledged scholarship. So tuition assistance is nice, and it's a nice ad as well. So why track and field, you ask? I mean, I think it's pretty easy, right? It is the most, or one of the most popular sports to watch in the Olympics. I mean, obviously the runnings, the 100s, 200s, the relays, all that are the big ones. And it wouldn't surprise me if other popular sports obviously swimming and gymnastics start doing this as well, paying the $50,000 for gold medals as well. Popular draw eyeballs of, ooh, I want to go see what gymnastics is doing or what swimming's doing. You know, the Americans that you know or that you remembered from the last Olympics to check out. Or all of a sudden, this young Michael Phelps pops up. You're like, oh my gosh, this guy's really good. So I like this concept. To me, it's very much like college sports with college football and basketball players getting most of the NIL money. It's what people like. It's what people want to watch. It gets the eyeballs and brings the revenue in. Another thing, when it comes to the Olympics, which I thought this was really cool to see, is the Olympics are pairing up with AMC movie theaters where coverage will be in 160 theaters across all of AMC's. And I think it's a great business deal for each. I mean, AMC, even if they charge less than a ticket, I think would make money on concessions. Now, I haven't seen or heard anywhere yet how they're going to break down the price that hasn't come out yet. But shoot, even if they do charge movie prices, that'd be making a killing for that. Now, I want to know for AMC, how are they doing the ticket? So do I buy the ticket and is it a come and go sort of thing? Like I buy it at, I don't know, 10 a.m. I can go watch something, leave, and then come back at 3 or 4 or 5 o'clock. Is it 2-hour blocks, like a 2-hour movie? I mean, or is it, if it is the 2-hour blocks, is it, do you have to go select your time slot? Like, oh, okay, we got swimming for this 2-hour period in this big group of what the Olympic program is showing. Okay, boom, I want to be there. Or is it track and field? Ooh, for this 2-hour time slot, I want that. I'm kind of interested to see how AMC is going to slot this all up as well. So I'm intrigued on both aspects of how this is going to all break down. And so be on the lookout for that and go check out movie theaters if you do. I'm interested to see the setup. I probably won't. I'll probably watch it from the couch. But it gives you an option if you want something lazy to do on a Saturday with some comfy chairs. It's an option for you. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on Twitter. And don't forget to check us out on E52 Sports. That's E5280 Sports on Twitter and on the website as well. As always, I'll talk to you next week right here on Lock It Down Sports.